That does not surprise me.
No,
That's
I was going to say,
normal.
anybody who knows anything about the Celtic support, how fervent and passionate they are, and they travel in such large numbers, that is no surprise. At times they get where water wouldn't. Anyway, we're underway. You're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live, and Celtic, as Pat was saying, in the change strip, the All Black, against playing from left to right against Atletico in their red and white striped shirts and blue shorts, royal blue shorts, as Joe Hart, all in yellow, had just got an early touch as Atletico will go towards the back, and it is with Jimenez who switches the ball out towards that far side, and then Molina just doesn't control that bouncing ball, and it goes out for a Celtic throw.
Do you know what Celtic tried to do? That really high intensity start, both full-backs flying on, you know, so they're going to have to play out for the back. They're two centre-backs against two strikers. It's brave. It's very like Ange Postecoglou was last season. Well, the other night actually as well, to be fair. It's a brave start for Celtic.
Here is Hart, the ball goes back, he finds Johnston on this near side, quickly closed down by Griezmann, and then Maeda goes into a challenge, gets a little push there by Hermoso, and the referee spotted that. He's a referee from Slovakia, Ivan Krusliak, and he gives a free kick that McGregor is going to take. And Callum McGregor in the press conference last night was talking about how Celtic need a shift in mentality as Maeda is forward on this right-hand side, and then his first touch just takes it away from him. Koke comes across, clatters the ball into the shins of the Japanese international, and Celtic momentarily lost it, but they've now got it with Carter Vickers. But I mean, the fullbacks are really pushed high. Here is Johnston, right-hand side, towards Maeda. Atletico were looking for a flag, didn't materialise. Maeda with the cross, and then cleared away, and now the Atletico players berate the assistant referee.
Now, I know it's only 2 minutes in, you know, but it's what Callum McGregor was saying. You need to start really, really quick. You need to have a positive belief in yourself. Celtic know they have to win this, so there's no point sitting back, just accepting their fate. And they clearly are going to try and not to allow that to happen. Good start from Celtic.
This is Alistair Johnston, Canadian international, inside to McGregor. Now Scales, blonde-haired central defender. He passes the ball to Taylor, who's inverted, the left back. Out it goes to Palmer, looking for the run now of Taylor. He gets there before Witsel. The Belgian international, very experienced with his bushy hair. O'Reilly tried to play the ball back out where it come from, and then it's chipped away by Molina. But Atletico at the minute just can't get onto the ball.
No, they can't. I mean, it's good from Celtic. There is a slight concern Celtic pushing that far up, and they're leaving Morata 1v1 at the back the whole time. Just 1v1 all the time, and Correa and Griezmann will come up and help him, so they have to be wary of the break.
And Griezmann tried to get Riquelme away on this near side. Riquelme's gone into the challenge. Now Diego Simeone is already wagging his finger at the referee in his big, thick, dark overcoat at the edge of that rather expansive technical area down below, as the challenge came on Rodrigo Riquelme.
Got a good view of it here, and defensively view the referee sees. I think he gets the ball pretty clean, but there's one angle that makes it look quite bad. I think that's a good tackle there. It's just a bit of a follow through, but you can't help that. That's natural.
Wigan are leading Peterborough by 1-0 in League One. 5 Live final score is available tonight on the red button. The iPlayer, or indeed the BBC Sport website, will have regular updates from Manchester City against Young Boys, where the European champions, of course, are already on the brink of qualifying for the knockout stages, as the whole bottom tier, it seems, inside this stadium is jumping up and down in unison. The Atletico supporters, the ultras, go away in the end towards our right-hand side in the bottom tier, behind the goal of Jan Oblak, the Slovenian international. And they have a formidable home record to Atletico Madrid. And Celtic, well, it's abysmal, to be honest, in Spain. They've never won in their entire history away in Spain. They've drawn 3 and lost 15. So
there is one slight concern again for Celtic just now. When they're getting the ball at the back, you know, the two centre-backs, the two full-backs have gone, right? Centre-back Scales on the ball now, plays it back to Joe Hart. Then they're getting closed down by 2. Joe Hart's looked a little bit shaky on with the ball at his feet a couple of times, so that's something I think Atletico will be aware of.
Correa holds the ball up well, turns in a tight space, tried to slip a diagonal ball back inside towards Morata, took a deflection and goes behind for a corner kick. St Johnston at McDermott Park, leading Motherwell by 1-0. So 1-0 to St Johnstone as Atletico have that corner kick that Griezmann is going to take as he walks over towards that far side, the right, as Atletico play from right to left.
Just looking at it, it's Alistair Johnson who's marking Morata just now. Considering Morata is one of the very best in world football in the air just now, you kind of want a centre-back on him.
They've got a number of aerial targets to aim for. In comes that corner kick. That wasn't the cleanest of punches by Joe Hart. He acknowledges that by raising his left hand. Riquelme comes forward. One of the 4 changes. He replaced Gallard, who I think many Atletico supporters felt was at fault for the 2 goals that they conceded. Remember, Celtic twice took the lead in that 2-2 draw, that entertaining game a fortnight ago. McGregor's header goes straight towards Griezmann, who shoots, and Griezmann scores. Low left-footed past the outstretched Joe Hart, and Atletico take the lead inside 6 minutes, and Celtic have made a terrible start as they fall behind to an early goal.
Well, they played well at the start. That's the first half-decent attack that Atletico Madrid have had, and that's the quality, isn't it? You get it to Griezmann, he's outside the box, and to be fair, before it left his foot, you kind of knew it was going to go in. And we talked before the game about Griezmann being moved back, and I said to Kelly, they moved him back so he can find space. That's exactly what's happened, isn't it? He's found exactly the space he's looking for.
McGregor's header could not have gone to a worst possible player in that sense for Celtic, because Griezmann got it out from underneath his feet and he buried it past Joe Hart. There's been a goal in the Championship. Naz Premji.
Rotherham 1, Ipswich 0. Onyia Dinma down the right, sliding ball in, and sliding in was Sam Nombe from close range. The high-flying Ipswich team are behind. Rotherham 1, Ipswich 0.
And what about Manchester City against Young Boys? Conor McNamara.
Well, you've an early goal there, Ian. We should have had an early goal here. It's Manchester City 0, Young Boys 0. Somehow City haven't scored. Grealish in the penalty area, beating the offside trap. Unselfish, squared it for Rico Lewis. Keeper was out of the equation. He tried to side-foot it in. Somehow Benicio saved it on the goal line. I've seen it 3 times now in a replay. I still don't know how City haven't scored. Manchester City 0, Young Boys 0. One other thing to tell you is that Kyle Walker's come into the team because Akanji was injured in the warm-up.
Well, Conor, I'm sure you've seen the Manchester City fans on many an occasion do the Poznan, and that is exactly what the Atletico supporters are doing behind the goal away towards our right-hand side as they celebrate that early lead. As Palmer tries to get forward for Celtic, he thinks he's won a corner kick. The referee, meanwhile, is going to indicate eventually that it's a goal kick, and he took his time in doing so.
Sure, well, surely not. I mean, we're a lot further away than the referee. The referee's got a direct angle on it. But it looked off like a corner kick to me.
So Atletico lead by 1-0. They've won their last 15 home games, including, as Kelly was saying, a club record 14 in La Liga. And their last 11 home victories, they've scored at least 2 in each of those games. And Griezmann, who is eventually, I would think at some stage this season, will become the all-time top scorer for Atletico Madrid, because that takes his goal tally to 167, and he's only now 6 behind the all-time top scorer, Luis Aragonés. As the ball is played forward, in the meantime, he's got to try and get past Adrian Escudero, but he's only 2 behind him, as Griezmann's goal is the difference in the early stages. Swindon are leading Colchester by 1-0 in the only game in League 2. Colchester 0, Swindon Town 1. As Celtic are going to have to do what Atletico did a fortnight ago and come from behind. Here is Scales. And as you said, Pat, I mean, Brendan Rodgers would have been encouraged by the start that they made, but then to fall behind in such a manner.
Yeah, I mean, that's really painful, but it hasn't changed Celtic's game plan. You know, they're still trying to attack, they're still trying to hold on to the ball. They aren't just sitting back, as I say, accepting their fate. And that's a really good play there on the side of the pitch by O'Reilly, who's not really getting into the game much yet, but him and Paulo Bernardo need to be a bigger part of this game.
That's Pat Nevin, who's with us on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds here tonight for our second commentary in the Champions League this evening. We've already brought you Borussia Dortmund 2, Newcastle United 0, and tomorrow night we'll be live in London for Arsenal against Sevilla, with regular updates from Copenhagen as Atletico deep inside their own half with Riquelme, and then Hermoso hits it long and away downfield, and that will stay in play and allows Scales to bring it under control. With Morata chasing him down, he passes the ball back all the way towards Joe Hart. In Manchester City's group, incidentally, 0-0 it remains at the Etihad. But in Serbia, it's Red Star Belgrade 0, Leipzig 1. So Leipzig, who are on 6 points before tonight, 3 behind Manchester City, and the German side have taken the lead out there in the stadium, the most atmospheric stadium in Belgrade for Red Star. Here is Scales under pressure, slides it out towards the left. Kept in play by Taylor. Back it goes to Scales once again. Correa goes towards him, the Argentine World Cup winner, and then Scales back towards Joe Hart. And they're still seeing a lot of the ball, aren't they, Celtic?
Celtic with plenty more possession, but doesn't actually mean a great deal, but because they haven't created much from it. They haven't created a clear-cut chance, but they haven't really got into position. The wing-backs seem to have stymied Celtic's plans going forward, but they'll keep going.
Skriniar has scored for Paris Saint-Germain as Palmer lets one in from that far side, the right, onto his left foot, easily saved by Oblak. So Milan have conceded early in San Siro. Paris Saint-Germain leading by a goal to nil. That's probably not a bad scoreline in the sense for Newcastle United that it keeps alive their hopes of just being in Europe in the new year, because Milan are bottom of the group with 2 points. It would take Paris Saint-Germain on to 9. Borussia Dortmund, of course, are on 7, and Newcastle 4. As this is now inside towards McGregor. Palmer, far side the left for Celtic, all in black, playing from left to right behind by a goal to nil. Little touch by Bernardo. Scales, again every outfield player is in the Atletico half. Here is Carter Vickers. Great noise inside the Metropolitano Stadium here tonight. Johnston towards Kyogo, couldn't bring it under control at around knee height.
This is very Diego Simeone stuff, isn't it? You can have the ball wide if you like, but you're going to have to get it in the middle at some point, and they have got real power in that central defensive area. The 3 centre-halves just haven't budged, have they? You've got Jimenez, Witsel and Hermoso, and they just look very strong, and at the moment Kyogo hasn't found an inch, has he?
No, he hasn't, for what is tonight his 100th appearance for Celtic. Indeed, we were together when we watched his home league debut against Dundee, when he was sensational, scored a hat-trick that afternoon.
I was quite impressed by him. Still to this day, I just have to think, can I say Henrik Larsson and him in the same sentence on his first game? I think Celtic fans think, yeah, all right.
I remember you made the comparison that particular afternoon. Here is Griezmann, leaves it now for Riquelme. Riquelme's charging forward, tried to be checked not once but twice. He prods it through towards Correa. Correa now coming forward. Riquelme's continued his run. He enters the penalty area, and McGregor got back to get the block challenge in inside the penalty area, because that left-footed effort looked goal-bound.
What a brilliant piece of work there by Riquelme. He went through the entire defence, all the way from before the halfway line, playing a nice little 1-2 with Correa. The power, the pace, the balance, everything. If that would have been a goal at the end of that would have been one of the best goals in this competition.
Wonderful noise as the Athletic supporters behind the goal away towards our right wave the red, white and royal blue flags, and the scarves are held aloft as they chant Atleti, Atleti. And Riquelme, who can play as a wing-back or an attacking midfielder, certainly went close, had it not been for McGregor with that covering run to increasing the home side's lead. 1-0 to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, he just powered out from that area, and because they have got players that are intelligent enough to cover from Koke, will always cover in there. He just kept on going and going and going, and Celtic a little bit lucky there, because there was a couple of Celtic players that had a little bit of a kick out and just couldn't catch him.
Yeah, Johnston being one of them for the first. And here is Carter Vickers to the Canadian international on this near side, the right. Maeda's gone ahead of him, closed down by Hermoso, tries to wriggle away, goes down, falls outside the penalty area into the box, but the referee had a good view of it and he waves his hand to say no, it'll be a goal kick.
Well, there's no big complaints from Maeda, but I thought he was dragged back over the shoulder. Yeah, there's certainly an arm on the shoulder, and some referees would have given a free kick that was outside the box there, but there was a bit of slip from Maeda as well.
Milan have equalised 1-1. In fact, thinking about it, that would be the perfect result for Newcastle, wouldn't it? Because Milan would have 3, Paris Saint-Germain 7. That would be the best outcome on reflection. So 1-1 it is in San Siro.
I think they might be looking at that little drag back that we were talking about there, but if you look at it twice, it's not an obvious mistake.
No, and it was the initial offence was actually outside the area anyway.
Exactly, yeah. It's good that they looked at it, to be honest, and it's one of those ones, you know, if the referee watched it again on the camera, he'd probably give a free kick, but it was outside the box.
Goes out of play for a throw. That we've got 2 balls in operation at the moment, so they can't take the quick throw that Hermoso wants to take on this near side, the left. 5 live, 1-0 to Atletico Madrid. Hermoso lifts it in field. Witsel on the volley scoops it back, and then headed away by Jimenez back towards Axel Witsel. 34 years of age. Midfielder now playing as part of a back 3. Correa picks up a loose ball. Inside now towards Morata. Morata shoots, and it's headed away by Carter Vickers. Comes towards Molina. Nice little turn there by Barrios. Back heels the ball to Molina. Koke keeps it alive. Back towards Molina, looking for the return ball. Cross on the run from Koke. Too close towards Joe Hart. Atletico lead 1-0.
They are incredible, the Atletico change their pace as soon as they get the ball in the last third. When Celtic have had a lot of the ball in the middle of the pitch, get into the last third, they've not looked massively dangerous every time Atletico get the ball there. And it's been infrequent, it's only now and again, but boy, do you think they can do something. And that time the cross wasn't great, but they look very dangerous.
St Johnstone have got a second at home to Motherwell, 2-0 in the Scottish Premiership. Maeda away from the challenge, and then sliding back was Griezmann. Goes behind for a Celtic corner kick. On this near side, the right, playing from left to right, trailing by a goal to 0.
Well, every time he gets the ball, Maeda, he will run, and it's usually that Riquelme is running at. Riquelme doesn't really want to spend a lot of time defending there. He'd rather get forward if he possibly can. There's no big tricks with Maeda. He just runs fast in a straight line, and that's quite effective.
So Palmer's come across to this near side to take it. Celtic are all in black. Got a number of targets to aim for inside that penalty area. It's an outswinger headed out by Molina. Only as far as Bernardo. Touches it towards McGregor. Has to go back to Johnston. Passes the ball out towards Taylor, far side the left. Now back inside towards O'Reilly. Now it goes square towards McGregor. Now it's with McGregor. Out now to Palmer, who's stayed on this right-hand side. Comes forward now. McGregor. Now with Johnston. Taylor. Maeda has switched now towards that far side the left, and Griezmann gets a foot into the challenge, and it goes out of play for a throw.
Again, Celtic should be lifted by that. Just beginning to see a little bit more of Paulo Bernardo and Matt O'Reilly. They're both, well, oddly enough, they look very similar from here. Thank goodness we've got different numbers on, but they move in a very similar way. They've got good attitude, they're good classy players going forward, and they're getting a little bit more involved now, and I think those two players are very important for Celtic.
Celtic looking for an equaliser. Far side, Palmer on the left, chips it into the penalty area. Good header out by Hermoso. Comes then to O'Reilly. That was a sharp turn. Maeda was on the end of it, just on the edge of the 6-yard box, but I think he was in an offside position, and it will be a free kick. You know, you were talking about the hard running Maeda, and he never stops. He's like a little dynamo. Yeah. It tells you everything about that entertaining game a fortnight ago, that after about 65 minutes he looked absolutely shattered.
Yeah, and it's not because he's unfit, it's because he goes at that speed all the time. Funny enough, he's playing in the right, he sometimes plays in the left, he's playing in the right tonight, and you know, he's got a little bit of the ball, he's got past his defender a couple of times. He just needs to keep on doing that and just keep on asking questions of that Atleti defence, because there are one or two weaknesses. It's not in the back three, but maybe in the wing backs defensively.
Former Scottish international Pat Nevin, who's with us here in Madrid. No other goals elsewhere around the country, as Atletico with Koke. He's approaching 600 appearances for the club. We won't be surprised to know he is the club record appearance holder. He's been a one-club man since 2009, and you think that he's 31. I mean, if he keeps himself fit, how many more appearances is he going to add to his current 500? Well, tonight's 597.
I mean, it is extraordinary, and you know, considering the standard you need to play, it's up at Champions League standard, it's top La Liga standard. They have been, you know, not only winners, but up there close to Barca and Real Madrid for a long, long time. And he has been central that entire time. Not to forget the international caps as well.
Yep. 70 caps for his country. Let's get another update from Manchester City, shall we, Connor?
So Manchester City 0, Young Boys 0. A rare attack forward for the visitors, but it comes to nothing for Aiton. An impressive double save at the other end from Anthony Rakiopi has denied first Kyle Walker from a free kick, then the follow-up from Phil Foden. That was an even better save. Earlier, Rico Lewis denied by Benicio on the line. Manchester City 0, Young Boys 0.
Cheers, Connor. Atletico lead 1-0 here. Jimenez cuts out the threat of Maeda, who then goes into a challenge with Hermoso, and Atletico players have reacted angrily to that. Hermoso's writhing around, the referee's reached for a yellow card, and Maeda is booked.
Yeah, he's chased down 3 different tackles there, and certainly there's nothing deliberate. Maeda's not trying to hurt anyone there. He's completely and utterly, clearly going for the ball. It's one of those ones, I am desperate to go and check again to see if he actually caught him in any way deliberately or didn't get the ball.
There is a VAR check for a red card.
Oh,
he's gone in over the top, hasn't he?
Do you know what? He's pulled his leg away at the last second, but I'm not sure that's going to be good enough.
Well,
the referee might have a look at this.
There is a VAR check taking place. Whilst that happens, Hermoso looks like he's okay. He's getting treated at the moment. Another goal in the Championship, Naz Premji.
Rotherham 1, Ipswich 1, lovely goal. This free kick played short, 25 yards out. Sam Morsey into the top corner for the visitors. Rotherham United 1, Ipswich Town 1.
Celtic, of course, who had 2 players sent off when they were away to Feyenoord.
You know, he's actually chased. It's one of those ones, if you show it, you're on its own, you don't see the other 2, and the referee is going to check it now, and this could be bad news.
This is now going to mean Brendan Rodgers has reacted angrily to Diego Simeone. He's pointing an accusing finger at Diego Simeone, and now all of a sudden some of the Atletico bench have reacted angrily to Brendan Rodgers, who tried to confront the match official as he views the screen. But Brendan Rodgers clearly believes that Diego Simeone is pointing again an accusing finger at his Atletico counterpart. This surely means that Maeda is going to get sent off.
Do you know what? I mean, it's a bit rubbish tackle from Maeda. I don't think it's viciously trying to do it, but does that matter?
The referee has walked away from the screen. He signalled that square motion. The yellow card has been rescinded, and out comes the red. And Celtic, who are a goal down, are now down to 10 men. And Maeda has been dismissed midway through the first half.
It's so hard to take for him. By the way, a yellow card's been shown to someone else. I think it may have been Brendan Rodgers. But you know, it's one of those ones where you go and look at the challenge, the third challenge. There's been 2 more challenges before it. Chase, and then by the time you get there, you're a bit tired and you throw a lazy leg out. And it's not much more than that. But because the studs are up a little bit, the player kicks through his studs, it looks awful. So as soon as the referee just looked at that, I thought, red card, he's going to go for it.
So Celtic's task has got so much harder now, down to 10 men in a country where they've never previously won. And now they're going to have to really dig in, because otherwise they're facing another early exit in the Champions League. Even Brendan Rodgers was admitting last night they have to get something from this game to keep alive their hopes of just playing in Europe, albeit in the Europa League, for next year. Let's go to the Etihad. Conor McNamara.
Breakthrough for Manchester City. They lead Young Boys of Bird by an Erling Haaland goal to 0 from the penalty spot after Mateus Nunes was taken down. No big dispute, it was an obvious penalty. Haaland sent the goalkeeper the wrong way. His 66th goal in total for Manchester City, his 38th of his career in the Champions League. City could be going through to the knockout stages with 2 to spare. It's City 1, Young Boys 0.
Here is Griezmann on the half volley, just wide. Inside left channel the penalty area, hit it sweetly off his left foot, always on the rise off target. Atletico 1-0 goal kick.
Yeah, and every time they attack, as I said, they end up getting a shot towards target, don't they? They are frightening. Morata's hardly a kick so far, and that actually is something that you'd almost fear, because he's so good when he gets those odd chances. But at the moment, if you're Griezmann, you're thinking, I've had some space before, I'll get more now.
Riquelme surges into the penalty area left-hand side, and McGregor again, right place, right time for Celtic to run it behind for a corner kick. this is going to be a long night now for Celtic.
It could do, and I mean, this the other night there when last night wasn't it? We were watching Chelsea playing against Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur, and when they lost 2 men, they kept on going for it. I'm not sure this Celtic can be that gung-ho.
Griezmann, the goal scorer, waits to take the corner kick. Slovakian referees just getting his views across about the pushing and shoving that's going on inside the penalty area. Griezmann to take it on the left. It's an outswinger. It's headed on by Molina and caught by Joe Hart, all in yellow, away towards our left-hand side. Palmer tried to get away from his man on that far side for the 10 men of Celtic. Couldn't get the early release. Instead he bowls it out towards Taylor, the left back, who now hits it long. He's looking for that run through from midfield of Bernardo. Keeps the ball in play, back towards Palmer, and Celtic can't keep the ball, although they do get a throw over on that far side. I don't think, when you look at it again, that Brendan Rodgers will have many complaints about the sending off, but I do think he'll complain about the antics of the Atletico bench.
Yeah, but it's not unusual, and from where Simeone's standing, he's probably thinking my player could have been badly hurt there. So you kind of accept it, you kind of put up with it to some degree, but it's quite frustrating for Celtic, for Brendan, because he chased in 3 different tackles.
Yeah.
And then you just look at, and everyone will just look at the one moment, which is when the studs, and it's a follow through or a clearance, and his studs happened to be there. He left them there. He shouldn't have done that, but it's not as ugly and vicious as it looks with that close up. But as soon as the referee goes and has a look at that, there's not even a doubt that's red.
Celtic on the far side get a corner kick.
This is what you want if you're Celtic. The most likely thing you're going to get is a goal from a set piece. So you get a corner here, a couple of free kicks or whatever, get a chance for the likes of Scales and Carter-Vickers to go up and attack the ball.
Well, the 2 central defenders have made their way into the penalty area. Corner kick for Celtic, Palmer to take it, in it goes. Didn't get the elevation, but it almost caught Oblak out, because it was sliced at his near post. It might have been Morata, and Oblak just, I think, thought that his player was going to deal with it, and that caused a little bit of anxiety there for Atletico.
I thought it was a terrible corner kick. It was a complete hit and a miss from Morata on the front post there with his right foot, and he's just real. Actually, that turns out to be a brilliant save by Oblak. He actually gets a little finger to it.
That could easily have gone in had it not been for Oblak. Another corner kick, right hand side, outswinger, aimed towards Kyogo, beaten in the air by Barrios. Goes out towards the far side. Bernardo will see it back towards Johnston, and because of the pressing from Morata and Correa, the 2 frontmen for Atletico, Celtic have to go back to Joe Hart, who clears it downfield. Palmer heads it infield, but there's nobody there. There's nobody in that central area at the moment, and Atletico are able to deal with it, and that's where the extra man looked like it was clearly counting for Atletico, as Koke now will come forward, just put his foot on the ball to Griezmann, touches it now towards Riquelme. He loses it, and McGregor there for Celtic, and Carter-Vickers turns, and with the back pass to Hart, but because Correa's running towards him, has to hit it first time right-footed. Palmer runs into Hermoso, and that bouncing ball will go out of play for a throw.
It's always intriguing to see what managers do when they go down to 10 men. There's a whole different load of ways you can look at it. At the moment, Celtic have still got that back 4, 3 in the middle and 2 up front, so it's a 4-3-2 they're playing just now with Palmer and Kyogo up front. It's quite brave now. The norm until he's gone past would have worked to go 4-4-1, but at the moment he's trying to leave 2 strikers up there as much as he possibly can.
2 interesting sporting guests on 5 Live Breakfast in the morning with Rachel and Rick, Serena Wiegman and Wayne Barnes, the Rugby Union World Cup final referee who's retiring. He's talked recently about online abuse. They'll be with 5 Live Breakfast tomorrow morning from 6 till 9. As Atletico still leading here in Madrid by a 1-0. Manchester City are 1-0 up. Earlier, Newcastle United lost in Dortmund by 2-0. As this is Correa trying to wriggle his way in towards the penalty area. Breaks towards Riquelme, just on the left-hand side of the box. Back it goes to Correa. Riquelme, just inside the penalty area. Comes back to him, blocked by McGregor. Played back inside by Hermoso. Griezmann now left-hand side. Griezmann with a right-footed ball. Out it goes. And then the shot from Molina. Hit it first time on the volley, inside right channel. He likes to get forward. We saw that in the World Cup with Argentina. But his effort right-footed was off target. Goal kick, but the home side still lead.
Yeah, he's absolutely smashed that one, hasn't he? I mean, Griezmann he sees him so far away there, Griezmann. Plays the perfect ball, so he just has to walk on it from about a 40-yard pass. Doesn't quite get on target.
Atletico, Carter Vickers steps out of defence, touches the ball to O'Reilly. Now they hit it long. Palmer looking to get in behind Hermoso. They've still got a covering defender as Kyogo was trying to join the attack. Palmer, though, just couldn't keep it. And Jimenez plays the ball forward, and then it's now out by Barrios towards that far side.
Well, Palmer made a brilliant run there. He got in behind defence. Everything went on his plan. Got on the ball and just slipped. And he won't get that many chances.
Here is Riquelme. He's getting forward at every opportunity. He's done well to keep the ball alive for Atletico. Griezmann now inside to Barrios. Man over on the right-hand side. Correa slips it towards Molina. Cross comes in right, cleared by Scales. Only as far as Barrios, bouncing ball that it will head out towards the right-hand side. Koke's there if he wants him. Here is the club captain for Atletico. Now every outfield player of the Atletico half is in Celtic as Koke switches it towards the left. Riquelme controls it with his right foot, passes the ball inside to Griezmann. Griezmann's touch let him down inside the penalty area. Atletico have got it back. Riquelme to Griezmann, back towards Hermoso. Koke wanted to control things in the middle of the park. Diagonal ball, cross towards Molina. Lays it off first time. Barrios tries to play it in towards Correa, and Taylor will get there and keep the ball. No, he won't keep the ball in play. It's a corner kick.
Yeah, and just you feel with Atletico getting the ball a bit now, calming it down, slowing it down, making use of the extra man, making the pitch big, getting the wide players, the wing backs to go very, very wide to stretch that Celtic back line. And it is exactly how you should play against 10 men, and they're doing it naturally.
So, corner kick to Atletico, 13 minutes to go to half-time. Griezmann, the goal scorer, has gone across to take it on the right-hand side. It's swung in now, headed on at the near post by Correa, and off target it is, and it will be a goal kick to Celtic. Can't help but feel that with that Maeda sending off, such a game changer.
Yeah, it was, as you say, it's tough beforehand, but I've been very impressed with the attitude of the Celtic players so far. It's going to, every minute that goes past will get harder for those Celtic players because they have to work so hard, and before Maeda went off, they had plenty of possession. We looked at one point and they were nearly 70% possession. Since he's gone off, it's changed, and it's so much harder running without the ball than it is with the ball, and Celtic are having to do a lot of that now.
Mentioned the earlier defeat for Newcastle United in our first commentary on 5 Live. The other early game tonight was in Group H, where Shakhtar Donetsk beat Barcelona by 1-0. In that group, Porto have taken the lead in the Estadio Dragao at home to Royal Antwerp, who are pointless so far, the Belgian side. So that would actually take Porto to 9 points, level with Barcelona, with Shakhtar just being in behind on 6. So that's elsewhere in the Champions League. As I say, on the red button, BBC iPlayer on the BBC Sport website, you can see the scores and listen for yourself with 5 Live final score. Celtic here in Madrid on this chilly night, trailing by 1-0, and Scales' forward ball just held back by Witsel. But it actually gone out of play. It'll be a Celtic throw. Yeah,
one of the problems, if you're Brendan Rodgers just now, you're thinking, if you're playing with 10 men, you have to make sure that when you do get the ball up front, it sticks. You have to be absolutely brutally honest. Kyogo's not kicked the ball yet, has he?
No.
He's not getting near the ball yet, and it's a little bit too physical for him here so far. Now that's not necessarily his game, and he wants to run in behind, but at the moment he just isn't having any impact in the game, and it must be a temptation for Brendan to look at his bench and say, look, what sort of physicality have I got that I can put up front that can maybe hold the ball and give the rest of the team a little bit of respite at some point.
Although when you say physicality, we haven't got anywhere near yet the same levels of the game of the shame game, as it was called in the first meeting between these two in 1974, where there were 11 yellows and 3 red cards from Atletico as they targeted the Celtic players in a very aggressive manner.
A certain Mr. Douglas get kicked all over the place, but they were polite to him in comparison to what he'd done to Jimmy Johnson, and I can say that because I was there.
Yeah, watching the the quality street gang, as they were known.
Yeah, well, some of them were playing that night. Josh Conley was playing. I don't think Lou McCarry was playing that night, but yes, Kenny was.
That was a European Cup semi-final, 0-0 at Celtic, as on the edge of the area. That ball then just dropped to Matt O'Reilly, tried to just lift it into the penalty area with his left foot and didn't get a meaningful touch. Atletico have been fouled, their defence on that far side. That's Witsel who's gone to ground, and a yellow card has been shown to Scales.
It seemed for I don't know he's getting a yellow card. It must have said something that his play Scales, mate. It couldn't have been for anything else. I'd like to say it's a little bit harsh, but I have no idea what he said, so I can't say that.
Well, with 10 minutes to go to half-time, it's a yellow to the central defender, who...
is he giving it to Scales?
It looked like it was to Scales.
Well, that is unbelievably harsh if he's giving it to Scales, because I thought he was giving it to Palmer. And if he's given it to Scales for that nothing of a tackle, it's a bit of a joke, to be honest.
We will tidy that one up. Here is Atletico in possession. Hermoso back to Jimenez, Uruguayan international. Koke dropping back. Ball now played forward. Hermoso's at a walking pace here. There's no pressure on the ball for him. Inside to Koke. Palmer looks to put them under pressure at the back. Now with Hermoso playing a triangular passing pattern, and then Hermoso hits it downfield. Riquelme getting forward, tried to get a little touch away from Carter Vickers, but Carter Vickers is the one back towards Joe Hart, who decided to take 2 touches almost on his goal line as Morata ran towards him. And that was a hairy moment for Celtic, who still trail by 1-0, but they're down to 10 men. What about the European champions, Conor McNamara?
9 minutes to the break. Manchester City still lead Young Boys by 1-0. Erling Haaland's penalty. Haaland might have had another one just now. On first glance, it looks like he's fluffed his line to the back post after Kyle Walker's cross. On the replay, you can see a slight touch off the defender Amenda, which just made it difficult for Haaland to react. A let-off, though, for the Swiss. Manchester City 1, Young Boys 0.
Atletico still leading by 1-0. They're coming forward now with Correa. Back to Molina, slips it inside. Correa passes the ball out wide. Cross now from Barrios towards the far post. Out behind it will go for a goal kick.
Just a moment ago there, Ian, you were talking about Joe Hart getting the ball, and I'd mentioned earlier on that he hasn't always looked completely and utterly comfortable when he's been pressed on the ball. I actually wouldn't blame him that time. I think his teammates didn't help him out. Ball was passed back to him and nobody showed him. Nobody showed up for him. I thought that was quite harsh.
It was Palmer, by the way, who got that yellow card.
I thought that.
Which now means that he is a significant yellow card, because he now will be suspended for the next game. So that's a double blow. Not only will he be without Maeda for the next 2 games for him as far as the European campaign is concerned, because he was sent off for serious foul play, but Palmer will also be missing for their next game. As Griezmann with a cross, McGregor only partially gets the ball away. So that's another setback. He'll miss the away trip to Lazio.
Yeah, and remember Celtic are missing Hatate, massive player for the club as well just now, and it's been very, very difficult for Brendan Rodgers this season, particularly in the Champions League. And as I said, they were looking in most games as if they were very competitive, but playing with 9 or 10 men just now, but 9 against Feyenoord, it's asking a lot.
Well, already confirmed that Hatate would miss the rest of the group stages with that hamstring injury. Here is Riquelme coming forward, still leading by 1-0. McGregor helping out. O'Reilly inside his penalty area plays it short. Back to McGregor. Atletico, though, trying to pin Celtic in deep inside their own half. Hermoso goes into that challenge with Johnston, and it goes out of play for a throw. Large pocket of Celtic supporters down the bottom tier of this main stand that we sit in. They all rise to their feet to try and offer some vocal encouragement to their Celtic players as Morata wins the ball back in that area to Griezmann, and Griezmann tried to return it to him in the left-hand side of the penalty area. Breaks down and runs out of play for a goal kick as Atleti still lead 1-0.
And painful that is to say, I don't think Atletico Madrid are playing at their very best yet. I think they're a good distance behind that, but it's still a little bit of a canter, unsurprisingly, because they've got the extra man.
Yeah, hard night's toil for Celtic after that sending off of Maeda midway through the first half. Riquelme over the halfway line, gets away from the challenge of Bernardo. Griezmann moves it inside. Barrios now is going to switch play in the air with a pass out towards Molina midway through the Celtic half. Looks towards Koke. Now with Witsel. Molina finds Correa, able to turn, edge of the area, back towards Molina. Molina with a putback. It might reach Riquelme. Tees up, a shot, takes a deflection, and then Morata with a shot. Did it cross the line? No, the flag was up anyway. The deflection completely fooled the entire Celtic defence and Joe Hart, and then Morata's effort, but the referee's flag and whistle has gone, and the assistant referee on the far side will give a free kick to Celtic.
I have to say, right in the middle there, Scales has made, he just sprinted out, hoping to catch him offside. What a brilliant piece of defending that. He's nowhere near the ball, but he realises in the midst of the play, I need to get out of there. And he's made a brilliant sprint out. He has saved Celtic a goal there.
It actually crossed the line, didn't it, from Morata?
Oh yeah, no, it was a goal. Had Scales not made that move, he was at left centre-back. The ball was 20 yards away from him, and the other side he was attacking. He had the presence of mind to know, actually, I'm a defender, I'm holding everybody on, get out, and he did. Well done, Scales.
Still in Rome, Lazio 0, Feyenoord 0. So at the moment the group looks like this, with Atletico on 8 points, Feyenoord 7, Lazio 5 and Celtic 1. Here is Griezmann at a standstill. Hermoso 6 yards inside the Celtic half, back with Jimenez, passes the ball to Witsel on the halfway line. Edging our way to the break here in Madrid. Sure, we'll get some reaction as well from our first commentary of Borussia Dortmund 2, Newcastle United 0, with Kelly at half-time. Here is Riquelme on the left. Riquelme with a cross, and then just coming forward to prevent it from reaching Morata was Joe Hart. And indeed, we will be hearing the thoughts of Eddie Howe during the half-time interval of Atletico Madrid 1, Celtic 0. Manchester City still lead Young Boys by a goal to 0, as Celtic all in black. With the 10 men, Scales at the back to Carter Vickers. Johnston is ahead of him. Here is the Canadian international now, midway through his own half. Palmer on this near side, plays it back towards Johnston. And now with McGregor. But as you'd said before, Pat, they just can't get Kyogo into the game.
No, there's no real movement, and even Kyogo, who always seems to be sprinting and running everywhere and trying to run behind all the time, it's just not really looked like that a lot tonight. He's been a lot more static than he usually is. You sometimes wonder if maybe carrying a little bit of injury and that sometimes slows some players down, but very unlike him in this game.
Anybody who's seen Diego Simeone and his antics on the touchline, he's got that animated, and he always is that type of character, but he's got so animated now, he's done away with the big overcoat. He's now just there in his all black suit, looking very, very sharp as ever, but just never stands still. Reading are leading Bristol Rovers by a goal to 0 in an 8 o'clock kickoff in League One. Reading 1, Bristol Rovers 0 in the Championship. Rotherham United 1, Ipswich Town 1. And how far are we away from half-time? We're about 2 minutes away from half-time. Atletico. Correa thought he'd overrun it. Managed to get it to Griezmann. Riquelme inside the penalty area, left-hand side. Correa's continued his run. Might break here towards Morata, and then diving on the ball inside the 6-yard area was Joe Hart.
It's absolutely imperative that Celtic these last minute or two. We don't know how many extra minutes will be added on, probably a couple, because I've had a look at the VAR, etc. But if we can get to half-time, Brendan Rodgers will be able to get the man probably a couple of adaptations in the way the team's shaped up, but also maybe one or two in personnel. They have to get someone up front that's going to hold that ball, because at the moment they're just doing, as they say in football, they're just doing doggies. They're just chasing and chasing and chasing, and they need to somehow get a little bit of a foothold and be able to get those midfielders backing up the striker.
Here is Griezmann to Riquelme, getting forward at every opportunity. Looks to go on the outside of Johnston. Johnston recovers well, gets the challenge in. Ball played back towards Griezmann, strokes it inside. Koke passes the ball back. Hermoso almost midway through the Celtic half, goes back out towards Griezmann on this left touch line. And by my watch now, we're inside the last 60 seconds of this first half of the regulation 45, with the home team leading by a goal to nil. Witsel, who had that goal disallowed at Parkhead 2 weeks ago. Riquelme comes forward now off the left touchline. Griezmann switches play. Molina controls the ball. 3 minutes of added on time, which we're now into. Koke, at the minute, they're just probing the Spanish side. Here is Witsel, the 10 men of Celtic, with all 9 outfield players back behind the ball. As now it's with Riquelme just waiting. Hermoso. Jimenez back into the centre circle. Finds Barrios. Griezmann comes into a central area. This looks threatening. Man over, back towards Griezmann inside the penalty area, gets the shot away, blocked behind for a corner kick. 1-0 Athletic.
Yeah, they're holding the ball well. Not surprisingly, they're very good players. They've got the extra man, but they're cruising into the final third at Celtic, and getting into very, very dangerous positions. And now Celtic are defending quite well so far, but there are a couple of deflections because of in numbers. And each time you shot, you think if it deflects the wrong way, Joe Hart could be caught out.
The voice of Pat Nevin, a corner kick, Griezmann to take it, doesn't beat the first man, headed away by McGregor, back out towards Griezmann, touches the ball now towards Barrios. Celtic have still got some defending to do here as Koke will go back towards Barrios on that right touchline, plenty to aim for. Griezmann sliding in at the near post, spooned behind by Hart. Goal at Manchester City, Conor McNamara.
Second goal for Manchester City in stoppage time at the end of the first half. Phil Foden has now scored in his last 3 games in a row, scored against United in the derby, scored against Bournemouth at the weekend, and he has scored here to put Manchester City 2-0 up against Young Boys. It's about to be half-time. City going through to the knockout stages with 2 games to spare.
Cheers, Conor. That almost slipped under Hart, didn't it?
It looked a good save first time, then the second time you think he's got a wee bit lucky there.
Corner kick from the right. That was disappointing from Molina. Didn't beat the first man, easily cleared away by McGregor. Now Lazio have just taken the lead in Rome, in Celtic's group, as the ball is played back into the penalty area. Header back in, sliding in is Morata. The flag stays down, and Celtic have conceded in stoppage time in the first half. Morata once again, he couldn't miss, almost on the goal line, and Celtic are facing an early exit from the Champions League.
Just saying, a moment ago, Celtic had to get to half-time. Brendan Rodgers needed that so he could restructure the team and maybe do something different. At 1-0 down, he's still in it. However, at 2-0 down, Morata, considering what everybody thought of him when he was playing for Chelsea, the nightmare he had there, he is an incredible striker. He is always in the right place at the right time. They're having a look for offsides here. No chance. That's a good goal.
Griezmann's ball was forward. It was Jimenez who headed it back at goal, and then sliding in from close range was Morata. And you think that, in particular, Callum McGregor must be fed up at the sight of Alvaro Morata. He scored, of course, in the 2-2 draw at Parkhead. He scored against Scotland in that Euro qualifier recently in Sevilla. And once again, he's on the target as the Atletico supporters jump up and down. And he's now scored 4 goals in 2.5 Champions League games, and that's more than he had in his previous 16. And Atletico lead Celtic 2-0.
Well, Callum McGregor's fed up with him. I was in Seville. I was fed up with him as well when he scored against Scotland. He's absolutely extraordinary. I had to look through a lot of his goals in the last wee while, just trying to understand what he does differently now than he was doing in England. And he is just as good as you get ghosting in. His numbers are brilliant.
Well, his numbers now 48 in 119.5 appearances, and Atletico leading 2-0. As here they come once again. 3 minutes of added on time, which we're into. They're looking for a third goal to really finish off Celtic before we even reach the break. Cross comes in from the right. Hart made a good save, because the clearance from O'Reilly took a bit of a deflection and came straight back at Hart, who acrobatically tipped it behind. There is the half-time whistle. Brendan Rodgers is having a word with the 4th official, but Hart has just prevented a third goal from going in. Rodgers is still having a go at the officials as he makes his way down the tunnel.
Yeah, he's furious obviously about the sending off. Just that moment there with Correa went in, just challenged, but he had no idea what it was. It hit off him at some pace. Great save by Joe Hart. puts it over the crossbar, and Celtic would definitely have been out had Joe Hart not saved that there. But Celtic under a huge amount of pressure, and it's I'll be honest with you, it's very difficult to see a way back for them just now.
Yep, 2-0 down, Maeda sent off as well, but Griezmann goal after 6 minutes, and then Morata in stoppage time. And for the 10 men of Celtic, they've got a long, hard night ahead of them as Celtic heading out of the Champions League, it would seem. 2-0 down, Kelly.
Thank you very much for that, Ian. Pat, you know, as you've been saying, they've got a long, hard night ahead of them, but it feels like it's already been a long, hard night for Celtic.
Well, it has been. Before the sending off, Celtic had the best of the possession. They had something like 67 to 70% possession. They were playing well. They weren't creating any chances, but it looked to me as if Diego Simeone sent his side out in a certain way so they could play in the break, and every time they did break, they looked good. As soon as the sending off happened, then, as you say, it became a very long night and a hard one, and chasing shadows. And it's difficult to know what to do, because there might not be any right thing for Brendan Rodgers to do. He wanted to get to half-time there, didn't get to half-time, lost that goal, and now his plans that he was going to put in place have changed again. So it's a tough one for Celtic, tough one for Celtic fans, tough one for Brendan Rodgers, but they've somehow got to keep on going, think they can get another goal, and just
As they do keep on going, Pat Nevin and Ian Dennis will keep us right up to date with everything that's happening in Madrid. We will be back there for the second half very shortly. It's also half-time at the Etihad, where Manchester City are having a much more comfortable night against Young Boys. Conor McNamara.
Yes, Manchester City lead Young Boys by 2-0. City started brightly. They should have scored early. Rico Lewis was denied by Benicio on the line. Then an impressive double save from Anthony Rakioppi denied Kyle Walker from a free kick, and then the follow-up from Phil Foden. The follow-up was an even better save, but the breakthrough arrived when Mateus Nunes was brought down in the area and Erling Haaland converted from the penalty spot. Into stoppage time at the end of the first half, and City made it 2. Phil Foden again involved, cutting in off the right wing, kept his shot low and into the far bottom corner. So City have been dominant. They are on their way to the knockout stages tonight. Remember, a victory for Pep Guardiola's team will send them through this evening, and Young Boys haven't offered anything. Their captain, Mohamed Ali Kamara, asked Erling Haaland for his shirt as they walked off at half-time, and he got it. But that's the sort of feeling here. It's been big Man City against Young Boys. Manchester City 2, Young Boys 0.
Yeah, man against boys. Conor McNamara with you for the second half of that one to bring you right up to date with everything in that group. Red Star are trailing 1-0 at home to RB Leipzig at half-time. As we heard earlier, in Celtic's group, Lazio 1-0 up against Feyenoord. In Group F earlier today, Borussia Dortmund beat Newcastle by 2-0, and Milan are drawing 1-1 against Paris Saint-Germain at half-time in that game. Also action in Group H, Shakhtar Donetsk 1-0 up against Barcelona. That one has finished, actually. That was an early kick-off. They beat Barcelona by 1-0. But it is half-time in the game between Porto and Antwerp. Porto leading that by 1-0. And there's one game in the Championship tonight. Rotherham against Ipswich. Again, it's half-time. Naz Prenji is at the New York Stadium.
Yes, Kelly, Rotherham United 1, Ipswich Town 1. The home side took an early lead when Fred Onyedinma sprinted down the right, delivered a great ball into the box, and Sam Nombe slid in to get his first goal for Rotherham. Ipswich levelled with one straight off the training ground. Leif Davis with a free kick. He cut the ball back to Sam Morsey, the skipper, edge of the box. He curled the ball into the top corner. Really good effort that. Ipswich have been better since the equaliser. You have to think they'll add to their tally in the second half. At the break, Rotherham United 1, Ipswich Town 1.
Naz, thank you very much. In League One this evening, it's goalless between Shrewsbury and Bolton. Wigan 1-0 up against Peterborough. Those games both into the second half now. Half-time, Reading lead Bristol Rovers by 1-0. And in League Two, into the second half, where it's Colchester 1, Swindon 1. And in the Scottish Premiership, St Johnstone 2, Motherwell 0 is a later score from there. We'll be back in Spain for second half commentary of Celtic's game at Atletico Madrid. Before that, the BBC News on 5 Live with Lisa McCormick.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
A 15-year-old boy's died after he was stabbed near a school in Leeds. Police were called just before 3 o'clock this afternoon to the Horsforth area of the city. Another teenage boy's been arrested. Sir Keir Starmer's accused the Prime Minister of delivering more of the same and putting the Conservative Party above policy after the King delivered the government's plans for the next parliamentary year. Among the plans confirmed were longer jail terms for the most serious crimes and plans to force offenders to attend court for sentencing. Sarah Alina was murdered by a man who refused to attend his sentencing. Farah Naz is her aunt.
We hope for these new measures to be implemented effectively with the support of the legal community, of prison staff, probation officers. It sends a powerful message to potential offenders, and these do serve as significant deterrents. So as far as deterrents are concerned, these are very important measures.
The US says it wouldn't support a reoccupation of Gaza after comments by Israel's Prime Minister that it will retain responsibility for security in the territory after the war has ended. A State Department spokesman, Vedant Patel, said Palestinians were the key voice in any discussion about the future of Gaza.
Palestinians must be at the forefront of these decisions, and Gaza is Palestinian land and it will remain Palestinian land. And generally speaking, we do not support reoccupation of Gaza, and neither does Israel.
Israel's held a day of memorial events exactly a month after the Hamas attacks in which 1,400 people were killed. Crowds lit candles and held a minute's silence across the country. And the COVID inquiries heard that Boris Johnson offered to be injected with coronavirus on live TV to prove to the public that it didn't pose a threat. Lord Lister, who's a former Downing Street Chief of Staff, said the former Prime Minister made the comments before the disease led to a crisis in Italy's hospitals.
All new this autumn on BBC iPlayer.
Are you even listening? This is important.
Feel the heat in Boiling Point.
Go out there and smash it. Calm down!
No, I'm not going to calm down. I've had enough.
Catch up with old friends in Ghosts.
Yes! Well done, Robin. You just wooed 170-year-old woman.
Excuse me?
And make room for Sort Your Life Out.
Shall we see what we're dealing with?
A mouse.
How am I expected to paint in these conditions?
Watch on BBC iPlayer.
This is 5 Live, your football station.
The UEFA Champions League.
With Kelly Cates.
Coming up on 5 Live Sport, the second half commentary of Celtic's Champions League game at Atletico Madrid, currently 2-0 to the home team there. Earlier, we were in Germany for our first commentary of the day, and we heard Newcastle lose 2-0 to Borussia Dortmund. Here's Eddie Howe.
We weren't at our best tonight. The intensity, quality of our normal game I thought was missing, but in saying that, we still had our moments, and we've lost the ability to make certain decisions. So in a sense, I'm being forced to make certain decisions and pick certain teams. Looking at Anthony Gordon, who played 90 minutes against Arsenal, was absolutely gave everything physically in that game. I think the turnaround for him was too quick to start the match, so we wanted to use him as an impact player today. But you'd like, in a different set of circumstances, to play maybe a different kind of winger in that moment. But I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. That's what we have.
That was Eddie Howe talking after Newcastle's defeat, and the Champions League commentary continues tomorrow. Arsenal against Sevilla is at 8 o'clock with Vicky Sparks and Matt Upson, and they'll have updates of Manchester United's game away at Copenhagen. Sevilla tomorrow for Arsenal, but in his press conference today, Arteta was still talking about VAR and his post-match comments after their defeat by Newcastle.
It is my duty to stand in front of you, to stand in front of the cameras and give a very clear and honest assessment of what happens on the game. And this is what I did, reflect very openly how I felt that the team played and how the game was conditioned by these results with the decisions that were made. And is the duty. My duty is to be defending my players, supporting my players, supporting my club, defending my people in the best possible way. And this is what I'm going to do time after time. And I do it not the way I feel, with the evidence and being as clear as possible. And I always do it. When we play, really need to say that. When we have lost, to take my responsibility, the first one me, to do it. And it's the way that I am, and I have to defend my club. But errors are part of an evolution. You know, the trajectory is never going to be like this. There are always bumps around the road, and maybe these things are very necessary to happen to improve the game in the right way, you know, and that's it. But we have to talk loudly. You have a problem and you put it there in your drawer. The problem is in the drawer, and it's going to stink at some moment. You know, if we have a problem, let's talk about it, let's try to improve it, and let's try to in a very constructive way, try to improve it. That's it. That's what we are trying to do. Nothing else, guys.
That was Mikel Arteta talking about VAR. I say still talking about VAR, still being asked as well about VAR. There's a brand new series of the Total Sport podcast starting today. Rob Burrows sits down with 7 sporting greats to ask 7 questions. His first guest is Wayne Rooney, and he was asked about the challenges he's overcome in his career.
I've had many different challenges, both on the pitch and off the pitch also, and my release was alcohol when I was in my early 20s, and I'd go home, I'd spend, a couple of days at home and would move out the house and drink really almost until you pass out. And I didn't want to be around people because, sometimes you feel embarrassed, sometimes you feel like you've let people down, and ultimately didn't know how else to deal with it. So I chose alcohol to try and help me get through that. Of course, now there's so many different people to speak to over these issues, and knowing that there was help there and there was people there for me to speak to, but I chose not to do that and tried to deal with it myself. And well, I think when you do that and you don't take the help and guidance of others, then you can really be in a low place, and I was for a few years with that. So it's a different type of struggle, different type of pressure, but also one which I struggled at first to deal with, and thankfully now I'm not afraid to go and speak to people over some issues which you may have. Of course, you have them both in your professional life and in personal life, but it's so important that you speak out to people and take their help and guidance as well when needed.
Really honest from Wayne Rooney there, talking on the Rob Burrow podcast, and you can listen to the full episode by heading to BBC Sounds and searching for the Total Sport podcast. If you are affected by any of the issues that are covered in the pod, then the BBC Action Line has information and support. Johnny Wilkinson, Dame Kelly Holmes and Hannah Cockcroft all sit down with Rob in upcoming episodes to chat to him about the troubles that they faced and the challenges that they faced in their careers. In other sport headlines, Australia beat Afghanistan by 3 wickets in a really dramatic match in Mumbai to reach the last 4 of the Men's ODI World Cup. Australia's Glenn Maxwell hit an unbeaten 201 off 128 balls to steer Australia into the semi-finals. It was even more remarkable because he had cramp, a back injury, and he couldn't run between the wickets. Earlier in the match, Ibrahim Zadran made history as he became the first Afghan cricketer to score a World Cup century. All the reactions on the TMS podcast, and that's available to download right now via the BBC Sounds app. Tomorrow, there's ball-by-ball coverage of England against the Netherlands on 5 Sports Extra from 8 a.m. Elsewhere, the plan for a new independent regulator in English football has been outlined in the King's speech. King Charles said the Football Governance Bill will safeguard the future of football clubs for the benefit of communities and fans. And Bristol City have appointed Oxford United manager Liam Manning as their new boss. Tomorrow, 5 Live Breakfast has some big sporting guests on the show. Lioness manager Serena Wiegman will be on, as will referee Wayne Barnes, who recently announced his retirement after taking charge of the Rugby Union World Cup final. And remember, you can listen to our commentary this evening alongside the final score graphics and video printer. All you have to do is go onto your TV and press the red button, or go to BBC iPlayer or to the BBC Sport app on your laptop or your phone or whatever, and click on 5 Live Final Score, and that will bring up the 5 Live commentary along with the video printer and all the latest scores of the games as the goals as they go in elsewhere. Games in the Champions League, 1 in the Championship, games in Leagues 1 and 2, and in the Scottish Premiership this evening. At Madrid for us, it's Pat Nevin and Ian Dennis. Atletico Madrid are 2-0 up against Celtic. It's going to be a really tough 45 minutes for Celtic. What can they hope for? What do they need to try and do to focus themselves on this next half of football, Pat?
Well, first of all, you kind of hope they take a couple of players off, such as Griezmann and Morata. It is tough, but Brendan's got ideas. He'll make a few changes now. It's right in front of us. We can see he's going to make at least 2 changes, which doesn't surprise me really. Celtic were being well beaten, but he's going to have to get a lot of big work rate out there. We talked earlier on maybe taking Kyogo off, but he's not going to do that. He's going to keep Kyogo on and maybe moving a little bit wider and just hope to get an early goal in the second half and stay in it. That's it. Because in football, you never know, Kelly. You just never know.
You just never know, and Celtic will be hoping they can turn this around, even if they are up against it in Madrid. Your commentary team, Pat Nevin and Ian Dennis.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, first of all, just to tidy up those substitutions, there were 2 for Celtic. So the South Korean forward O has come on to replace Lewis Palmer, who was already, of course, booked in that first half. That means he'll be suspended for the Lazio away game. They probably couldn't risk another yellow card and another sending off, as happened in Feyenoord early on in the campaign. And Matt O'Reilly has been replaced by the young Norwegian midfielder Odin Holm. So he has come on. In fact, he was one of the players who was sent off against Feyenoord earlier on in this Champions League group stages for Celtic. So Celtic now in the All Black with Hart in goal away towards our right hand side. They're playing from right to left, have Hart, Johnston, Carter-Vickers, Scales and Taylor, Holm, McGregor, Bernardo, with Kyogo and now O leading the line. And the change for Atletico Madrid was Marcos Llorente coming on for Pablo Barrios, so that's like for like in the midfield. So Atletico with Oblak in goal, back 3 of Jimenez, Witsel and Hermoso, right wing back is Molina, left wing back is Riquelme, Koke, Llorente, Griezmann with Morata and Angel Correa as Koke lifts that ball forward. Carter-Vickers will head it away, and that ball now is picked up in the midfield for Holm. And let's see what Celtic are able to try and salvage with the 10 men as they trail by 2-0.
Yeah, Holmes coming on, as you mentioned, sent off in that game against Feyenoord. Can't take any chances like that again. Not surprised he brought on O. That's the player that I thought more than anyone else was on the stick on to come on, because you need to get some physicality up there. He's actually not managed to hold the ball in there. He was fouled. He fouled actually while he was trying to do that, but at least he's trying to make the ball stick early on.
Since he's arrived, and he arrived in at the club in January, very rarely starts. It's as Correa gets away from Scales, and Correa with the shot with the outside of his right boot right into the midriff of Joe Hart. It was straight at the Celtic keeper. This is tonight his 33rd appearance then, but he's only made 4 starts during that time. But Celtic are 2-0 down and down to 10 men.
Well, part of the reason for it, he's a centre forward, and Kyogo's been scoring all the time, so he might be doing all right, but he needs to be really special to get in front of Kyogo. And Celtic generally don't often play with more than one striker.
And Kyogo's record is certainly impressive. We mentioned it's his 100th appearance tonight. 61 goals in his previous 99 appearances. And in fact, he's looking to become the first Celtic player since Joseph Craig 46 years ago to score in 3 successive appearances in Europe's elite competition.
Wow, that's a great start. Joe Craig scored 3.
Yep, 1977.
Oh wow.
Wigan 1, Peterborough 1 is a latest score. Colchester 2, Swindon 1. We are available, as Lady Kelly was saying, 5 Live final score available through the Red Button, the iPlayer and the BBC Sport website. Here is Taylor, diagonal ball, Bernardo coming forward, but Atletico have got so many red and white striped shirts back behind the ball as McGregor passes the ball now out wide towards Johnston. Celtic playing from right to left. Holm then comes back, and then it's with Scales, but they just can't find a way through.
And they're against a brilliantly organised defence. They're brilliantly organised at the best of times, and they're not going to take any chances they don't need to take. Why should they? Why would that back 3 move out of where they are? They're not going to give Celtic an easy chance to get back in the game and make this any more difficult an evening than they have to. They'll just sit back there, they'll keep their shape really well when Celtic have got the ball and say, OK, commit. Because if Celtic overcommit, you know what's going to happen.
Manchester City are still leading by 2-0. Earlier, Newcastle United were beaten by that scoreline in Dortmund in our first of our commentaries on BBC Radio 5 Live. Tomorrow night we'll be live at the Emirates for Arsenal against Sevilla. We'll also be live in Copenhagen with news of how Manchester United are faring. Bolton are leading away in League One. Shrewsbury 0, Bolton 1 is a latest score, whereas here Celtic 2-0 down to 10 men from that sending off of Maeda, have been awarded a free kick on the right hand side. It's 10 yards inside the right touchline, midway through the Atletico half. It's Bernardo to take it, doesn't beat the first man, and that is quite poor. So, goal at Manchester City, Conor McNamara.
It's another goal for Erling Haaland. It's Manchester City 3, Young Boys 0. Haaland's second of the night. There'd been a few build-ups from City where passes had gone astray. This one he's pretty much created for himself. He picks it up, back to goal, outside the D, and shoots from outside the box, left-footed, thunderbolt to the top corner. Manchester City 3, Young Boys 0.
And qualifying for the knockout stages, as Conor was saying, with 2 games to spare, whereas Celtic, the Scottish champions, are facing an exit from the Champions League and possibly all to qualify even for the Europa League.
Yeah, and that is a real serious consideration. And for Scottish clubs, in particular the big 2, Celtic and Rangers, they want to make sure they're in Europe as long as possible. And it's a tough one because we know European nights at Celtic Park are special. They're extra special, and it wouldn't really matter which competition it was in.
Remember that Lazio is still leading Feyenoord by a goal to 0. Molina slides this ball in from the right hand side. Carter Vickers steps out of defence. He can't reach Kyogo as Hermoso sliding in gets it towards Griezmann, touches the ball. The referee almost gets in the way, the Slovakian ref Ivan Krusliak, as Atletico leading 2-0, looking to try and make that extra man count, get the ball out towards that far side, the left. Now in Newcastle's group in San Siro, Milan have come from behind and are now leading Paris Saint-Germain by 2-1 as Griezmann works the ball towards Riquelme on the left-hand side towards the byline and passes the ball straight towards McGregor, but he gives it away. Hermoso steps forward, edge of the area, Correa with a little touch. Llorente passes the ball to Molina, whose cross-come shot diverts off his right foot and is easily caught in by Joe Hart as we go back to Conor McNamara.
Young Boys' night has got worse. They are down to 10. Sandro Lopez showed a second yellow card for a challenge on Nathan Ake. He's gone. Manchester City 3, 10-man Young Boys 0.
And another sending off elsewhere in the Champions League. Royal Antwerp are down to 10 men in Porto as they trail in Group H by a goal to 0. Porto 1, Royal Antwerp 0 as the Celtic try and get Kyogo away on this near side, but the referee has blown his whistle because he was offside. Free kick to Atletico.
At least Kyogo are actually looking as if they can work together. One goes short, the other goes long. Nice little spin round there. Technique was absolutely fine. It's just that I think Kyogo maybe found himself just offside at the start of that move. But at least those two look as if they're capable of working together with the little bit of opportunity, the odd opportunity they're getting when the ball comes up.
That's Pat Nevin with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Griezmann passes the ball back, and then Koke out to Witsel, 34 years of age, the Belgian international, gets the ball back from Molina, passes it back to the Argentine international, level with the penalty area. Witsel again is available. Challenge comes in from Bernardo. Griezmann though is alert to win it back, runs forward on this right hand side, tries to go on the inside of Taylor, looks for the return ball, but Correa will go it alone, and in the end Hart made the save at his near post. Correa created that for the angle, right-footed shot, turned over for a corner kick.
There seemed to be no space at all there, and Correa doesn't always get again, but he's a quality striker. Turned around, 2 players inside the box, difficult angle, gets all the power, it's on target, but Joe Hart once again, strong wrists, ball over the top, but Celtic under pressure again.
Well, Celtic have had some heavy defeats in Spain in the Champions League. Had it not been for Joe Hart, they could easily have conceded 4 here tonight. They're 2-0 down as it is. The referee has just noticed a little bit of pushing and shoving inside that penalty area. So Atletico Madrid playing from left to right, leading by 2-0. Have got a corner kick near side the right that Griezmann's going to take it. There is a cluster of players that are really jostling for position on the edge of the 6-yard box. Griezmann floats it deep. Acrobatic effort from Witsel. Comes towards Jimenez. Header off the crossbar. Loose ball. Hasn't been dealt with. Now it's hooked to safety. And Jimenez almost got a third.
Oh, mayhem. Celtic got very, very lucky there. Referee's allowed play on. I thought it was a foul.
Griezmann wins the ball back, enters the penalty area, and his cross drifts behind for a goal kick. I think many people were bemused and baffled that in such a crowded penalty area, Witsel tried the acrobatics.
Yeah, and he nearly came off. Came back there, headed back on target. Joe Hart was being nearly hit off his back, went straight into the goal. Yeah, it's one of those situations there when there's just players in there, balls put into dangerous areas. It's almost a surprise that one of the 2 or 3 very attack-minded players that Atletico Madrid had got didn't get on the end of it, but Celtic can breathe again for a moment.
They're just going to freshen things up because Griezmann's been taking the corners so far tonight, but instead it's going to be Molina for a corner kick to Atletico, headed out by Kyogo as he stoops inside his penalty area. That loose ball picked up by Griezmann. Griezmann,
nutmegs.
It was
fans like that
in between the legs of the young Norwegian midfielder, and Griezmann now just finding the space as he looks for the run of Correa, but it just goes ahead of the Argentine and it's out for a goal kick.
It is interesting watching Griezmann play. I mean, he's such a quality player and he finds space, and he's dropped off a little bit deeper than he usually plays for Atletico Madrid, but he's kind of almost playing within himself tonight. He's not exactly a canter, but he's just cruising around, finding a little bit of space, just turning it on when he fancies it now and again.
The extremely vocal support of Atletico Madrid, that vociferous bunch behind the goal away towards our right, and in fact the support is being acknowledged now by Diego Simeone, who clearly had cooled down during the half-time interval because he dispensed with the dark overcoat towards the end of the first half, but on this chilly night here in Madrid he's got it back on, at least for the time being, as he still looks rather animated, even with his side in control of this game, as Molina comes in off the right touchline, almost level with the penalty area. Llorente passes the ball inside. Holm though is there towards Kyogo, won't stick, loses out. Griezmann now takes over from Witsel, passes the ball out towards Riquelme. He'll go on the outside on the left, stands over the cross, deep inside the penalty area. Llorente heads it into the danger area. Slice clearance by McGregor. Morata goes to ground. The referee says get back to your feet, and Celtic get the ball away. All Atletico.
Yeah, Celtic just cannot get out at all. There's been a couple of times where has stayed up and Atletico have said no, we'll just stay 1-1. They're really that confident in their defenders that, you know, you expect them to just give lots and lots of cover. They're 2-0 up, why take a chance? Actually, they so believe in themselves, they'll just go man to man in it, even though they've got an extra man.
Motherwell have got a goal back at McDermott Park in the Scottish Premiership. St Johnstone 2, Motherwell 1. This is the Champions League. It's live on 5 Live. Molina with the cross, arcs its way in low from the right-hand side, cleared by the blonde-haired defender Scales for Celtic, who are all in black. They're playing from right to left as Molina pushes the ball to Correa, turns towards Morata, tries to lay it off towards Griezmann, broken up though by Holm. Potential break on maybe for Celtic, but even then, as Bernardo, he goes to ground under the challenge, but as he looked up, he probably saw 4 Atletico players to only 2 of Celtic to aim for.
He also saw one in who peeled off to the right, and there was a 50-yard pass on, and it kind of sums up the difference. If that's Griezmann on the ball, he pings that, and that ball lands at the attacker's feet, and he thought, no, I can't do that, and didn't try the ball.
South Korean international makes the run out towards the right-hand side. He was thinking it was going to be a corner kick, but the assistant referee on that far side has indicated it will be a goal kick. So Celtic, who are 2-0 down in their previous trips to Spain and the Champions League, they'd conceded 18 in their last 3. They lost 5-1 Real Madrid last season, 7-0 to Barcelona, which was their record defeat in Europe, and then the previous trip to the Nou Camp was a 6-1 defeat. So they've actually conceded 24 goals in now just over 6.5 games in Champions League visits to Spain, a country where they've never won. And that ain't going to change tonight either. Here is Correa, edge of the area, looks for the opening, passes the ball, Griezmann hits it! Hits the side netting, inside left channel, left-footed, placed it just wide.
Slightly surprising, it goes with his side foot. You think you put your laces through that one. You know, it's running onto him, and instead of, you know, zipping it across Joe Hart, and, you know, it's one of those ones, if you zip it across the goalkeeper there, then he might palm it out to some players running in. He's tried to do the little cheeky little half pass into the drop corner there, near side of the goal, got it all wrong.
2-0 to Atletico Madrid. Llorente, one-way traffic at the moment. This is at Llorente once again, level the penalty area. The supporters jumping up and down behind that goal as the cross comes in. Morata was unmarked and lurking, punched away by Joe Hart. Koke tries to get there. Atletico get it back. Celtic can't get out at the moment. Llorente with a cross once again. Oh, that was Chance put in by Griezmann. I thought the danger had been cleared, but it was only partially cleared, and it fell straight to Griezmann. And Griezmann, with the acrobatic finish, left-footed, finds the bottom left-hand corner, and just before the hour, he scores his second of the night to increase Atletico's lead, and Celtic are heading out of Europe.
I mean, that is a brilliant finish. Once again, I mean, Celtic have got a problem because they have to go and chase into the position that Morata's getting into. Every time the ball goes into the box, Morata will be on the end of it. He will be there, lurking. Celtics know that, the two centre-backs know that, so they fall back. Problem is, Griezmann knows where the space is. Again, we talked about it before the game. Griezmann has changed his position, he just looks for space. Comes out to him, he doesn't think twice. That is a beautiful little technique. Left foot, overhead kick, bottom corner.
He reacted so quickly, didn't he? It was Johnston's header out, and then it was that acrobatic finish from Griezmann, left-footed. 3-0 to Atletico Madrid. And there are now a lot of empty red seats high up in the Celtic end, away towards our left-hand side. The Celtic support are leaving. They're 3-0 down. There is a goal check at the moment. I mean, every goal is checked. Griezmann initially, I think, was in an offside position as Turnbull comes on to replace Bernardo. But I guess they're looking, is that a second phase? Or do you think that...
I mean, I would be a slight surprise, but when nobody in the Celtic team was expecting the ball to be chopped off, we'll see the referee's taking his time over it. So a lot about hope for Celtic fans.
Turnbull has come on to replace Paulo Bernardo, who's a 21 years of age Portuguese midfielder on loan from Benfica. And the check is over, and the goal stands, and Atletico lead by 3-0. So Turnbull on for Bernardo in the midfield.
And I think maybe Kyogo's gone off and Yang maybe sneaked on there.
So double change. So Yang on for Kyogo as Atletico Madrid keeping up this impressive home record. Going to be unbeaten now in 18 games here inside this Estadio Metropolitano since Barcelona won here in January. And Kyogo unable to emulate that record of Joseph Craig back from 1977. Reading 1, Bristol Rovers 1 is the latest score in League One. Bristol Rovers have equalised, as have Motherwell, who were 2-0 down. But Motherwell have fought back in Perth. St Johnstone 2, Motherwell 2, with about 15 minutes remaining in that Scottish Premiership game. But
Celtic have made a couple of changes there, right? And it's one of those ones you always want to come on, right? You really always want to come on. But there's some things that's more pleasurable than others. When you're 3-0 down, you're 10 men, and you know all you're going to do is run and chase shadows. It's a tough one to come on. But we shall see that Yang, who I really like as a player, like to see him on the ball. He's very, very good, very talented, good skills, and he's on the ball now.
Celtic looking for what would just be a consolation. Turnbull had made the run into the inside right channel, the penalty area. Atletico are going to be making a change. Saul Niguez is going to be coming on. He had that loan spell at Chelsea a couple of years ago. He's approaching 400 appearances for Atleti, 28 years of age, Spanish international. And Samuel Lino is a Brazilian midfielder who's actually missed the last 3 matches with a knee injury, is going to be the other change for Simeone's side, who lead by 3-0 on another disappointing night for Celtic in Europe. And there's nothing to change the rather underwhelming record of Brendan Rodgers in the Champions League for him as a manager. 2 wins, 6 draws. This will be a 14th defeat, as once again we heard from him earlier, who's part of our commentary team, Neil Lennon, the last manager to take Celtic into the knockout stages of the Champions League. Correa turns, Correa shoots, and Correa blazes wide, left-footed, off target for a goal kick, 3-0.
I don't think there was any doubt whatsoever he was going to have a shot there. And I think this man Griezmann is going to enjoy a good round of applause from these fans here. Well, you know what? He's cruised tonight, hasn't he?
He's on the verge He's 2 behind Adrian Escudero, who is second on the all-time goal-scoring list. 168 goals he's now scored. I was hoping that he was going to bag a hat-trick, because that would have actually created a 21st century record for Atletico, with what would have been a 5th hat-trick for the club. Although he's got to go some way to match the 8 of Paco Campos in the 1940s. But Griezmann is off, Riquelme is off, changes have been made, as we'll get an update for the Rotherham in the Championship with Naz.
Ipswich 1, Ipswich doing all the pressing, looking for a winner, and Rotherham standing firm. Rotherham 1, Ipswich 1.
Thank you, Naz. Llorente forward, striding, making good ground to the edge of the area. Correa. Molina, back to his fellow Argentine. Still probing, looking for more goals here. Our Atletico Madrid against the 10 men of Celtic for what has been a chastening night for Brendan Rodgers' side.
At half-time, Kelly asked me what Celtic needed to get back into the game, and I said, it'd be nice if they took Griezmann and Morata off. Left it a bit late, didn't they? Griezmann scored a goal and has really killed off the game, and for Celtic it's just, they hope it doesn't fall apart now. I don't think they've played terribly, it's just that they've been outclassed a little bit by a team that used those extra man well.
Llorente with a cross from the right-hand side of the penalty area, headed out, fired back in by Koke, blocked, comes out towards Leno with the effort. Oh, and a fine goal! What an impact from the substitute! Superb goal! Samuel Leno with a right-footed curling effort beat Joe Hart out of the Champions League, and further pain in Spain for Celtic as they concede a 4th.
Well, first of all, let's get this straight. That is wonderful. What a brilliant goal there. He's such a terrible angle. He's out the 18-yard line, but he's right on the corner there. That's got to be a cross from there, but it's not. He gets up, looks at it, and sees Joe Hart at the front of his goals, and he curls it right around him there. And you know when it's 3-0 and you're fighting and battling, you're closing down and you think, it's okay, you know, we're going to get beat, but just don't want it to be embarrassing, we'll keep it like this. When it goes to 4 and there's still 20 odd minutes left, then you worry. And you've talked about some of the big results so far against Celtic, and you know, Celtic, Brendan Rodgers and every Celtic fan will not want this to happen tonight. 4 is big, but more than that becomes, well, a thrashing.
Well, we said before that the Celtic fans were leaving. The official allocation was just over 3,400. I would say half of that support has already left.
Yeah, and it's unusual for, you know, it's not usually the case for Celtic fans. Have come a long way, spent the money, you know, usually like a lot of noise and, you know, stick by the team at the end to let them know that they're still behind them. But you're right, there's an awful lot of gone.
Celtic's record in the Champions League makes for grim reading. Winless in their last 14 in the Champions League since Anderlecht back in 2017. 1 win away now in what will be their 17 away games in the Champions League. 2 wins out of the last 30 away from home. Molina to Llorente, slides it in. Correa hits the post, rebound cleared by McGregor. This could easily have been Celtic's heaviest defeat in European competition. You think they've hit the post, they've hit the crossbar, and Joe Hart has made 2 excellent saves, and they're still 4-0 down.
Yeah, and there's still quite a long time to go as well. And you know, to say that, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Atletico Madrid are still going at it quite 100%. They've taken Griezmann off. They're, you know, when they get the ball, they look sharp going forward, but are they hammering at it? Not necessarily. So that makes it even more painful for Celtic just now, that it actually seems such a cruise for Atletico.
Midway through the second half, and so still the final quarter will feel like an eternity for Celtic's players and the supporters. 4-0 down in this, the Champions League. Tomorrow night, Arsenal-Sevilla from the Emirates. Further Champions League action for you on 5 Live and BBC Sound. And then this weekend, 5 Live Sport on air as always at 12 with Mark Chapman. Manchester United Luton Town is our commentary from 3 with the usual goal service. Bournemouth Newcastle to follow at 5:30, and then 5 games on Sunday, all live on 5 Live Sport, whether it be online or indeed on the good old wireless, including Liverpool-Brentford at 2, and then Chelsea against Manchester City from 4:30. But just over 20 minutes remain. Atletico Madrid 4, Celtic 0. And we're going to see now Azpilicueta, a player who you'll have seen on many occasions as former Chelsea man.
Yeah, and he's done well. You know, he's not just come over back to Spain, you know, just to see out the years and play the odd game here and there. He's actually played a lot of games for Atletico Madrid since he's arrived, and very much loved here.
He was the 6th most in terms of appearances for Chelsea. 508 he made in his 11 years. He left on a free after wonderful service at Stamford Bridge as Koke floats the ball out towards the far side. In it goes to Lino, and then coming across was Carter Vickers, and it will go for a goal kick. So Celtic are going to make a change as well, and the Celtic change is going to be Tomaki Iwata coming on, the Japanese midfielder, and it'll be Callum McGregor who goes off, and for Azpilicueta, Molina will be the player coming off for Cesar Azpilicueta.
But you say, yeah, is it Callum that's coming off? Just make sure, yeah, it is. So just try to shore it up as much as possible. Another centre back in there just to try and kill the space there, put Iwata in where McGregor was playing, but he can play at the back as well. But at the moment he's going to sit in front of that, those back two centre backs, to try and kill the space.
Wigan are back in front with a late goal. Wigan 2, Peterborough 1 is the latest score in League One. This is the Champions League, and Atletico Madrid, with 19 minutes remaining of normal time, are leading by 4-0. What is interesting and bodes well for Atletico Madrid, they'll love to keep it up, is that in all their previous meetings with Celtic, and Celtic have been yet to win in those 7 games, they've drawn 3 and lost 4. But Atletico, regardless of the competition, have gone on to reach the final in that season.
Well, they'll do well to get to the Champions League, but I mean, they are a very, very good side, and you know, it's not beyond the bounds of possibilities, but I wouldn't put them in the top 4. Maybe out with that.
No, he has, as you've mentioned in the first half though, Diego Simeone, since he took charge, really has established Atletico though as a top side in Spain. They've been in the top 3 for 11 successive seasons, challenging with Barcelona and Real Madrid. And this very, very impressive home record is going to continue. They've only lost 3 in their last 23 inside this stadium in Europe: Chelsea, Liverpool and Milan. But they're leading 4-0. Don't think there's been a change in the other game in this group either for Celtic, which is Lazio still leading Feyenoord by a 0-0. So currently the group reads with Atletico 8 points, Lazio 7, Feyenoord 6, Celtic 1. So Celtic will still have a say in who qualifies for the knockout stages of the 3 other sides in Group E.
The other thing about the game that's going to be at Celtic Park will still be an exciting one for Celtic fans, but it's that horrible feeling that it could be the last games for a while in European football, and that's a hard thing to take because Celtic fans demand it every year and want it to last longer, and it doesn't seem to last a long time these days.
No, that'll be Feyenoord on the 13th of December when they go to the East End of Glasgow. Maeda will be missing, of course, for that Lazio away game before that at the end of November, as will Palmer after his sending off tonight. That was a costly yellow card.
And that is going to be the talking point, most certainly back in Scotland, about that sending off.
As Azpilicueta forward slides into the challenge, back it goes to Llorente, right side of the penalty area. Atletico still pressing. Saúl is there, coming back to help out. He's lost the ball actually as Yang. Saúl with a cross, hasn't been properly dealt with by the Celtic defence. Eventually they get it up towards O. He loses out, and Atletico just camped inside the Celtic half at the moment, looking for a 5th goal. Leno, out it goes to Azpilicueta, unmarked right hand side, sends over the cross, headed out by Holm for Celtic, all in black. up it goes towards O, short of the halfway line, and they have really struggled second half.
They have. They just can't go on the ball at all against a very good side. Just watching Aspilicueta coming on, and Morata, seeing how good a goal scorer is, how natural a goal scorer is. When Morata was playing alongside Aspilicueta, that was probably the best relationship that Morata had in the entire team. The amount of goals that Aspilicueta made for Morata was incredible.
Here's a familiar figure who's going to be coming on. Soyuncu, the former Leicester City defender, the Turkish international, who signed on a free in the summer. A 4-year deal that he signed after leaving Leicester City, who of course when he was one of his managers was indeed Brendan Rodgers. Only will be a 4th appearance. All of them have been off the bench for Soyuncu since he made that switch from Leicester. But with 15 minutes remaining, Atletico are on easy street. Aspilicueta, near side the right. Back it goes to Witsel. Celtic just trying to keep their shape. Llorente, tall figure, another slip. Ball goes back. Koke with the cross. Lino towards Morata. Morata with a finish, and a thunderous finish by Alvaro Morata. Left-footed, hammers the ball past Joe Hart. Celtic suffering another hiding in Spain. 5-0 to Atletico.
Just maybe a slight surprise it's taken so long for that to actually happen. I mean, that is a great hit, a fantastic one. And used to him, those goals being hit in from 2 yards from him, but that one leathered in, top corner. And he knew he was going to get a chance at some point in time. He's taken it beautifully there. And it's that difference between 4, when you get to 5 or 6, you know it's a hammering. It's horrible to be part of that, and every Celtic player down there is feeling critics. They just want this game to end now.
Celtic's worst ever defeats in European competition was 7 years ago in Barcelona when they lost by 7-0 as Jimenez comes off for Soyuncu. They could easily have conceded 7 tonight. They've hit the crossbar, they've hit the post. Hart has made 2 or 3 excellent saves. And the Atletico supporters, some of them are now heading for the exits as well, because this game, well, it was done and dusted a long time ago, but 5-0 to Atletico. And
in reality, it was done and dusted the moment Maeda went off. Yeah. But you have to be able to, stop an embarrassment, and it is getting close to that now. I mean, understandable, you're away from home, you're against a great team. I mean, this Atletico team has cost a lot more than the Celtic team to put together. You've got to see all that stuff. But if you want to be in any way competitive, you need to come here and not get absolutely hammered. And it's a real shame, because up until this game, I would still argue that Celtic had been competitive in every game. Tonight, they've not been.
But what about Celtic in Europe now? Because the previous 4 group stage campaigns in the Champions League, 4th last season under Ant Postecoglou, 3rd and 4th under Brendan Rodgers in 2016 and 2017, and 4th in 2013, and once again they're not going to progress to the group stages this season either. And
some of the times a really good argument to say, look, it's a tough group, there's a lot of teams that will get more wealth, etc., that sort of thing. Other teams, Celtic, haven't been at their best. There can be a million excuses. Not good enough to get through, full stop. You don't get that unlucky that amount of times.
Lino goes for another curler. Oh, that was just wide. Again off his right foot, just outside the area. Hart at full stretch. That had the crowd on the edge of their seat.
Yeah. And it's a hard one to take. I mean, you will go back to the sending off and think, would Celtic have been, competitive? Maybe a tight loss tonight, maybe a 1-0 or a 2-0. I mean, they were already a goal down when that went in. It sounds a wee bit like clutching at straws. I absolutely accept that, but it is tough to take that. Scottish football, it's a distance behind, and it's certainly a distance behind Spanish football. But I don't think we ever argued against that.
No. But 5-0 to Atletico, and still over 10 minutes remaining. Now in Manchester City's group, Manchester City, remember, still leading Young Boys by 3-0, and Leipzig So Manchester City will qualify as a result. Leipzig leading now in Red Star Belgrade by 2-0. So Red Star 0, Leipzig 2. Leipzig will be on 9 points, Manchester City with 12, Red Star 1, Young Boys 1. So in fact Leipzig and Manchester City will both be going through then into the knockout stages with 2 games to spare. Colchester 3, Swindon 1 is the latest score in the solitary game in League 2. Here is Witsel.
I mean, the horrible thing now, it feels like an extended rondo, doesn't it? They're just passing it, and for the Celtic players, you can't give up, you can't just throw in a towel, you need to keep on chasing, but you're just not going to sniff of the ball, you're not going to touch the ball, and if you do switch off for a second, there's still enough quality players, even though they've made a whole bunch of substitutions, there's still quality there.
Cross comes in from the left-hand side. It's going to be a 10th straight defeat on Spanish soil, where they've never won. They've actually only scored 9 goals, and if they can't score here tonight, they'll have then failed to score in 12 of the 19 games. It really is not a happy hunting ground at all for Celtic as the Scottish champions. Down to 10 men after that sending off of Maeda after 21 minutes, but as Pat Nevin says, they were already a goal down at that point. But Atletico Madrid are putting them to the sword. Shrewsbury 0, Bolton Wanderers 2 is the latest score in League 1. Colchester have actually won, that's a result in League 2. Colchester United 3, Swindon Town 1. As with 9 minutes remaining of normal time, Celtic looking for Johnston on that far side, the right. They've hardly got into the Atletico half in the second half, and it will be an Atletico throw.
Your attention, please. This is a security.
I suppose the one thing you can say, you haven't stopped working.
Please remain seated.
They've kept trying, they've kept chasing, they've kept trying to close down as much as they can, try to keep their heads up as much as they can. The problem is Celtic and the players have been here quite a few times, haven't they? They know that this is a lost cause, but still have to fight.
Well, there was a security announcement there for the Celtic fans, just saying please remain seated in your after the final whistle.
Say 70% of the back of their hotel by now.
No, there's hardly anybody left. Here is Azpilicueta. Llorente inside to Correa. He'll want to get in on the act, I'm sure. Inside right channel, the penalty area. Back to Koke, Witsel. They're camped outside the Celtic half. I would say that there's probably only about 500 fans, if that have remained high up in the end away towards our left-hand side. And I'll tell you what, they'll be wise to actually leave now anyway, because you wouldn't want to sit here on a cold night after seeing your side thumped for an extra hour after the game just to be kept back for security reasons. That really would be adding insult to injury.
Well, insult to injury, to coldness, to everything, and just for a moment there, some Atletico fans were doing the olays. That's harsh. You don't need to add that pain.
Azpilicueta, sharp turn by Correa, just couldn't get it away inside that penalty area as the ball goes up to Yang, but they lose it. And Lino passes the ball out towards that far side. Then the cross from Morata on that left-hand side to Azpilicueta. Azpilicueta keeps the ball inside, this near side the right. Wigan 2, Peterborough 1 is a result. And Shrewsbury 0, Bolton Wanderers 2 is also a result. Still playing at Reading in the 8 o'clock kick-off, as here is Llorente. Opens up for Llorente, and the left-footed shot was low and saved by Joe Hart. Red Star have got a goal back, incidentally, in Serbia. Red Star Belgrade 1, Leipzig 2 is a latest score in Group G. Manchester City, though, 3-0 against Young Boys. Earlier, Newcastle lost in Germany, 2-0 to Borussia Dortmund. If you missed Eddie Howe at half-time, you'll hear his reaction on the 5 Live Football Daily, the podcast, where I'm sure we'll also be maybe looking ahead to Arsenal against Sevilla, our next commentary tomorrow. St Johnstone 2, Motherwell 2 is how it's finished in the Scottish Premiership at McDermott Park. 6 minutes remaining, Pat Nevin, and Atletico 5-0 against Celtic.
And they've got a man in Morata there who is desperate to get a hat-trick, isn't he? He's got his 2 goals already, one a great strike from distance, the other one from just a couple of yards, his usual one, but he is desperate to get another chance, and Azpilicueta's trying to find them.
Azpilicueta slips it in towards Llorente. Llorente with the cross, coming in is Lino, tucked in by, stabbed goalwards by Sowell, and he's got a 6th from close range. The miss-hit shot fell straight towards Sowell, and he couldn't miss from that area of the field. Right of goal, close range, and Celtic, it's a rout. Atletico Madrid 6, the 10 men of Celtic 0.
Yeah, a complete rout. I mean, he mishit the first one there. They've had chances almost at will. You could argue with there's bad marking there, but they just always seem to have a man over. They've played the extra man really well. You just drag players wide. They move it very, very quickly when they get into the last third. They get into the bylines regularly. But that one was actually a bad shot, was miles off target. But Sowell, he moved very, very quickly. Decent touch first time, second touch, absolutely roofed it. By the way, the one thing I would say, Joe Hart, he's actually behind the goal line there. He gets a touch on it, but weirdly, it's actually, he's behind the goal line when the ball gets to him. As a keeper, you should be, in front of the goal line. It kind of always helps. It kind of shows you that everyone seems as if they just want to be off this pitch just now.
He only scored the one goal for Chelsea during his loan spell at Stamford Bridge. It's his first of the season. His last goal was against Espanyol in May, as Sowell is edging towards a half-century of goals for Atletico. We mentioned after the last goal, a lot of the Atletico supporters were for leaving. The traffic sometimes away from the Estadio Metropolitano can be difficult, and I think all of them are thinking, right, we've seen our side win, we've seen our side score a hatful of goals, we'll try and nip away a little bit earlier as well, with 4 minutes remaining of normal time for a ground that was close to capacity of 70,000. It's probably now just over half full, and it's certainly deserted in the Celtic away end.
There's one little group of Celtic fans all dressed in black. They're standing up there. They have not budged, but apart from that, there's scarcely any Celtic fans left. And do you know what? With the pain of a 6-0 defeat, for a team that's not used to losing generally, obviously domestically, that's tough to take. So I do understand why some have left.
Well, certainly now the Celtic players will not want to concede a 7th goal and go down in the history books for a record equaling defeat in European competition to match that scoreline. But Atletico are still threatening more goals, and Llorente whips in a dangerous ball, and sliding in was Lino, just couldn't get on the end of it. That was a wicked ball, low from the right, bit of curl on it, a lot of pace.
And absolutely nothing that Joe Hart could do. He's not going to come out for that one. Zipped across, low. And he's just a little bit late coming in. It's one of those ones where you expect Morata to be. That's where Morata usually lives, isn't it? And you're looking at this point in time, there's 3 minutes to go. And you're looking down there, and if you're a Celtic fan, you're thinking, just please make it 2 or 3 more extra at the end of it. But there's been about 10 substitutions, so there might be more.
Well, you would think there'd be at least 5 minutes of added on time.
Well, just for goal celebrations alone.
Well, yeah, I mean, they do say it's the exact time now, don't they? But
I suspect not.
24 goals that Celtic have conceded now in what will be their last 4 trips to Spain in the Champions League. 6-0 they're losing here.
Do you think if Celtic get in the Champions League next season, they'll be looking at the draw and hoping not to get drawn in Spain?
Well, of course, next year it will change,
yes,
won't it?
Course.
It'll be. You don't play the home and away next season. It'll be 4 at home, 4 away, but you'll only play one team once in the change of format as Koke.
I wonder why they're doing that. I think we know why they're doing that.
We certainly do. Here is Lino on the overlap. Cross comes in from the left-hand side, and in the end it was a header away by Turnbull.
Have you ever come across a fan who quite likes this new idea yet?
Not yet, no.
No, me neither, strangely, eh?
Jogging across to take it is going to be Koke, the Atletico legend, the captain. Gets a standing ovation and he acknowledges the crowd with just gently raising his right hand. He rolls it short. We're going to get another corner kick. Goal at Rotherham, that's Premji.
Rotherham 1, Ipswich Town 2. Pinball in the box, and Jack Taylor it was that got the final touch. It trickled over the line and the visitors are ahead. It's Rotherham 1, Ipswich 2.
Cheers, Naz. Atletico coming forward, right hand side. Lino inside now to Saul. Saul can't get the shot away. Koke is square to him. Azpilicueta toying with the 10 men of Celtic now. What a chasing it's been in this second period for the Scottish champions. Out it goes towards that far side. Morata links up with Soyuncu. Morata makes the run in the inside of Soyuncu, who's now on that left touch line. Cross towards Azpilicueta, hits it first time, parried by Hart, and luckily it went towards Taylor, who could clear the ball away. So with that late goal for Ipswich Town in the Championship, leading Rotherham by 2-1, keeping up that promotion charge for Ipswich. With that scoreline in South Yorkshire, that will take them to within a point of Leicester City at the top of the Championship.
That is the funniest thing that's happened all night in front of me.
Go on.
2 minutes extra time. There's been 10 substitutions, a bunch of goals. Well, I'm not disappointed, I have to say, for the sake of Celtic fans.
Well, Brendan Rodgers was berating the fourth officials. We'll be hearing from him. You'll hear the reaction in the 5 Live Football Daily if we're unable to get it to you before off air at 10:30. But I suspect that he won't be complaining to the fourth officials for the 2 minutes. I mean, like you say, we've had a hatful of goals. We've had a number of substitutions, and yet he puts up the 2 minutes. Porto have got a second goal. Porto 2, Royal Antwerp 0 elsewhere in the Champions League. Those that remain inside the Estadio Metropolitano creating a wonderful noise for Atletico Madrid, because they lead by 6-0, and not only that, they're actually going to the top of Group E, with Lazio still leading against Feyenoord. Very, very tight between the 3 other sides in this group. 2 points will separate Atletico, Lazio and Feyenoord, but this has been a commanding victory for Atletico Madrid against the 10 men of Celtic. Koke, by my watch we're inside the last 40 odd seconds of injury time. Have they got one more chance to try and get a 7th? Hermoso chips it forward, brought well under control by Saul. That was a nice little turn, he flicks it, Hart can't get there. Atletico almost reach Morata, and eventually Celtic will try and run it forward as Yang loses the ball to Witsel. Still the desire and the hunger for Atletico Madrid. There's been no let-up, has there, in that respect?
When they lose the ball, they just get it back immediately. Celtic cannot hold it. We were asking the question in the first half about, Kyogo, but in actual fact, there's been no Celtic players been able to hold that ball up front.
It's been a chastening night for Celtic. Another early exit in the Champions League, and facing the prospect of no European football altogether, as they've suffered a hiding here in Spain. The 10 men after Maeda sending off in the 21st minute when they were already a goal down, and then they went 2-0 down at half-time, but they conceded 4 in the second half, and to be quite frank, Pat Nevin, it could easily have been so much more.
Yes, it could have been much more than that. It would have been intriguing to see Celtic playing 11 against 11, I'm not saying that they win it, but it would be intriguing to see it. But 11 against 10, they were outclassed by some distance. They could not lay a glove, particularly after going down to 10. They could not lay a glove on this Atletico Madrid side, who are a good side to watch. They've got some quality players such as Griezmann and Morata, but all the way through to Koke, and they just basically sauntered through this game, scored goals when they fancied it, got 6 in the end, and as you say, it could have been more than that. And it's just a really tough one for Celtic to sum up, because they know Champions League's gone for them for another season yet again, and that's something that they, with the history they've had, they'll never quite get used to.
Full time in the Estadio Metropolitano. Atletico Madrid 6, Celtic 0. Kelly.
Thank you very much. We will get much more reaction from the Stadio Metropolitano shortly, between now and 10:30. We're going to go back to the New York Stadium, though, where Ipswich Town had just scored in the 87th minute. They thought it was the winner. There's been another goal in time added on. Naz Premji, which way's it gone?
90 plus 1 in 6 minutes of added on time. Chris Teehee has put in a side-footed effort into the bottom corner for Rotherham. It's 2-2 and we're still playing here, Kelly. Still time for one of these teams to find a winner. Rotherham 2, Ipswich Town 2.
High drama there. Naz Premji will be back with you if anything happens between now and the final whistle going, and then of course we'll be back for the final whistle in that extraordinary match between Rotherham and Ipswich. In the meantime, let's get back to Champions League action, and the full-time whistle has gone between Manchester City and Young Boys, and Conor McNamara straightforward at the Etihad.
Yeah, too easy for Manchester City. They beat Young Boys by 3-0, 2 goals from Haaland, 1 from Phil Foden. Young Boys never threatened. They were reduced to 10 men early in the second half when Sandro Lauper was shown his second yellow. City had another lorry load of chances. It's incredible they didn't add to the tally, but 3-0 it finishes. Pep Guardiola's side can now concentrate on their domestic form for the next few months, because Manchester City are through to the knockout stages with 2 games to spare. Manchester City 3, Young Boys Burn 0.
Connor, thank you very much for that. RB Leipzig beat Red Star in the other game in Group G. That's Manchester City's group. Elsewhere in Celtic's group, after their 6-0 defeat, Lazio are 1-0 up against Feyenoord. They're still playing in that game, but the final whistle about to go any second. Early on in Group F, Borussia Dortmund beat Newcastle 2-0. Milan 2-1 up against Paris Saint-Germain. That game not quite over just yet. In Group H, in the early game, Shakhtar Donetsk beat Barcelona by 1-0. Porto against Antwerp just coming into the latter stages of that game, 2-0 to Porto in that one. In League One, Shrewsbury beaten 2-0 at home by Bolton. Wigan 2-1 winners against Peterborough. Not long to go now in the match between Reading and Bristol Rovers. That one is currently at 1-1. And in League Two, Colchester have beaten Swindon by 3-1. And then in the Scottish Premiership, it finished St Johnstone 2, Motherwell 2. Been a busy night all round. Let's head back to Madrid, where Celtic on the wrong end of that 6-0 scoreline. Atletico Madrid absolutely flying at the Metropolitano. Pat Nevin, it's hard to know where to start with that one. I'm trying to imagine what Brendan Rodgers will be saying to his players after that. And obviously the red card changed the game, but Atletico just on a different level.
They were on a different level for the vast majority of the game, but certainly after the red card. Now, to be honest, Celtic hadn't laid a glove on Atletico before that, but they had plenty of the ball. They had the lion's share of the possession before that. They'd lost a goal, and each time that Atletico Madrid attacked, they looked as if they could either score or make a chance, even before the red card. So they were 1-0 up, and they looked as if they're going to go and win the game. However, when the red card comes, and we will have to talk about the red card in some detail in time, because it was harsh but understandable. I would explain it like that. After that, it was miles and miles apart. The quality was so far apart, and I did say quite a few times during the commentary, they're very good, Atletico Madrid, but there was more in the tank. They got 6, but they could have done more, because they could have been sharper at various points during the end of the first half. And the second half, they just cruised along and controlled the game instead of really leathering at it. So it's one of those ones. It was 6, and as Ian Dennis was saying in the commentary, annoyingly it could have been more had they really pushed it. And that's the difference. That's the gulf. If Celtic haven't got every single player playing well and 11 men on the pitch, then this is a thing that can happen against a top European side.
It is, and Celtic obviously suffering the effects of that this evening. But Atletico Madrid, like you said, okay, there may have been more in the tank, but someone like Antoine Griezmann, we're watching him play. We keep thinking, he's had his peak now. He's at his peak now. I've never seen someone have such a long peak in their career. It's another brilliant performance from him. Yeah,
I mean, you asked me before the game, what's happening with them, because they've got 2 strikers on.
Well, it was Alex Martin who joined us, the Spanish journalist, who was saying he thought he might be playing more of a sort of central midfield role.
Well, it did, but my argument was, you're just giving him freedom. You're just giving him to say, right, I will see what's in front of me, and because he's such an intelligent player, I'll just move into space. Well, he done that all right, didn't he?
Yeah.
He done that rather brilliantly. He just waltzed into the space that the 2 strikers created for him. And that's what clever players do. That's what the intelligent players. And he is a kind of natural 10. You know, you look around sort of world football and European football, and he is a very natural 10. And you don't actually stand in that position if you're good at that position. You wait for the space to develop in that position, and then you walk into it when the ball's there. And that's what he done tonight. And he done it brilliantly, and he did it for, obviously, the overhead kick goal was very, very special indeed. But he comes alive and he cruises about, and you don't think he's actually trying that hard. And then when the danger comes, he is, you know, he's like a cobra. Just wow, he's quick as anything. No one can get near him, and he seems to be going at a different pace from everyone else, not only physically but mentally as well.
Yeah, 6 minutes it took for him to get on the score sheet, but contributing, as you said, so much more than that until he was substituted in that game. 6-0 win then for Atletico Madrid against Celtic. More reaction to that between now and 10:30. The full-time whistle has gone in the match between Rotherham and